Admiral John Carter stood at the floor-to-ceiling window of the Pentagon's East Wing, his weathered hands clasped behind his back. The morning had started like any other until the massive shadow fell across Washington, D.C. Now, a ship larger than anything humans had ever built hung silently above the National Mall. Similar vessels hovered over every major city across the globe. "Sir, the President is on line 1, said Lieutenant Greg Powell, his voice steady despite the circumstances. Carter picked up the secure phone. "Madam President?" "John, tell me we have options," said President Susan Miller, her voice tense but controlled. "We're tracking 27 alien vessels in Earth's atmosphere with another 50 in orbit. Our weapons are armed, but we don't know what we're up against. They're broadcasting on all frequencies in perfect English. They want to meet at the UN in 1 hour. Carter frowned. Perfect English? That's not a good sign. They've been watching us for some time. 90 minutes later, Carter sat beside President Miller in the United Nations General Assembly Hall. The room buzzed with nervous energy as world leaders and military commanders whispered among themselves. The double doors swung open. A hush fell over the room as 3 alien figures glided down the center aisle. They were tall and slender with bluish-gray skin that seemed to shimmer under the lights. Their 4-fingered hands ended in delicate points, and their large, almond-shaped eyes surveyed the room with unsettling intelligence. The tallest alien stepped forward. "I am High Arbiter Zorthax of the Galactic Council. We represent 17 advanced species who maintain order in this sector of the galaxy." His voice was smooth and emotionless, coming not from his narrow mouth but from a small device at his throat. President Miller stood. "On behalf of Earth, I welcome you. We've long wondered if we were alone in the universe." "You are not alone," said Zorthax. "And that is precisely the problem." The alien tapped a device on his wrist. A holographic display appeared above the assembly, showing images of Earth's wars, nuclear tests, and military exercises. "Your species has advanced from primitive tool use to nuclear weapons and early space exploration in less than 10,000 years. This rate of technological development, combined with your clear biological predisposition toward violence, has been deemed an unacceptable risk to galactic stability." The room erupted in protests. Zorthax raised a hand, and the room fell silent. Again, not by choice, but as if a switch had been flipped. "The Galactic Council has reached its decision. Earth will surrender its sovereignty and accept protectorate status under Council governance. You will dismantle your military forces and submit to regular inspections. Your technological development will be closely monitored and restricted as necessary." President Miller found her voice again. "And if we refuse, then Earth will be neutralized," Zorthax said simply. "We prefer compliance, but we are prepared for resistance. You have 1 standard month to begin disarmament and prepare your population." With that, the aliens turned and left, leaving the world leaders in stunned silence. 6 hours later, in a secured underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, President Miller addressed a gathering of Earth's top military leaders and scientists. "Ladies and gentlemen, I don't need to tell you the gravity of our situation," she said, looking around the room. "I need options. Not next week, not tomorrow, now." General Frank Rivera, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, cleared his throat. "Madam President, we've been analyzing the scan data from our satellites. Their ships are powerful but not invincible. They're using some form of gravity manipulation for propulsion and likely for their weapon systems." Dr. Alan Peters, the head of xenobiology at NASA, raised his hand. "There's something else. Based on atmospheric samples taken near their ships, I believe these aliens evolved in an environment with much lower radiation levels than Earth. Our sun emits more radiation than they're likely used to. It may be why they've remained in their ships." "Is that useful?" asked Miller. "Maybe," said Peters. "If they find our normal radiation levels uncomfortable, they might find our nuclear weapons absolutely devastating." Carter leaned forward. "But we don't know if our delivery systems can penetrate their defenses." "Actually," said a new voice from the back of the room, "we might." All heads turned to see a woman in civilian clothes walking toward the table. She, carried a slim black folder with no markings. Nancy Blackwood, Director of Special Projects at DARPA, President Miller said by way of introduction. Few people in this room have the clearance to know what she actually does. Blackwood nodded. Since 1947, following the Roswell incident, the United States and later a secret coalition of world powers have been developing weapons based on recovered alien technology. Technology that, interestingly, doesn't match what we're seeing today. She opened the folder and spread out several photographs. These are facilities around the world hidden from public knowledge. Antarctica, the Mariana Trench, inside Mount Denali, even in orbit disguised as space junk. What are you saying? Carter asked. I'm saying we've been preparing for this day for over 70 years, Blackwood replied. We have weapons these aliens don't know about. Quantum shield technology, antimatter warheads, and ships, not many, but enough to surprise them. President Miller stared at the photos. Why wasn't I briefed on this? Plausible deniability, Madam President. This program exists outside normal government oversight. It answers only to a small council drawn from multiple nations, activated only in this specific scenario. First contact with hostile intent. So we can fight back, General Rivera said. Yes, Blackwood replied, but we need to be smart. We need time to activate all our assets without them noticing. President Miller's phone buzzed. She looked down and her face darkened. They're moving faster than expected. The council has just installed observers in every major capital. We're being
watched.
Carter leaned back in his chair, his mind racing through scenarios. Then we need a two-pronged approach, public compliance while we secretly prepare. I'll assemble a diplomatic team, Miller said, people who can stall and appear cooperative. Meanwhile, said Rivera, we quietly activate our hidden forces. And we need intelligence, Carter added. We need to know more about their technology, their weaknesses. Blackwood smiled thinly. I might have an idea about that. We have a stealth ship that could intercept one of their smaller vessels. As the meeting continued late into the night, an alien observation drone hovered silently outside the mountain, its sensors unable to penetrate the facility's shielding. Inside, humanity was planning something the Galactic Council never expected. Resistance. President. Miller looked around the table at the determined faces. 1 month. We have 1 month to save our world. Little did the Galactic Council know, humanity was not going to surrender. The countdown to humanity's greatest battle had begun. The mountain facility hummed with activity. 3 days had passed since the Galactic Council's ultimatum, and Operation Silent Thunder was now in full swing. Nancy Blackwood stood in the command center, surrounded by screens showing hidden military installations activating around the world. Status report, she said to the room of technicians and military personnel. Colonel Sam Wright pointed to the largest screen. Antarctica base is online. The shield generators are warming up. Mount Denali. Facility reports all systems green. The Pacific Fleet of submersible aircraft carriers has surfaced in remote locations to receive their upgraded weapons packages. Blackwood nodded. And the Defiant? Rising to deployment depth as we speak. On another screen, live footage showed the massive USS Defiant breaking the surface of the Mariana Trench. Water cascaded off its gleaming hull as the ship, 3 times the size of a nuclear aircraft carrier, emerged from its underwater hangar. The vessel wasn't just a warship, it was humanity's first true space battleship, built in secret over 2 decades. Beautiful, murmured Admiral Carter, who had just entered the room. How long until she's combat ready? 48 hours, Wright replied. We're loading the antimatter warheads and bringing the fusion drives online. Carter turned to Blackwood. The aliens have watchers everywhere. How are we keeping this hidden? Quantum shielding, she explained. It bends light and other electromagnetic radiation around our facilities. As far as their sensors can tell, there's nothing but empty ocean where the Defiant is right now. And our plan to gather intelligence? Blackwood gestured to a woman in a flight suit talking with a group of pilots. Lieutenant Olivia Grant has been preparing for this mission her entire career. Across the room, Lieutenant Grant briefed her team. At 32, she was one of the Air Force's top test pilots. secretly trained to fly recovered and reverse-engineered alien craft. The mission is simple but dangerous, she told her team of 4. We'll use the stealth shuttle to approach one of the Council's scout ships. Their patrol patterns suggest they refuel at the edge of our atmosphere every 36 hours. We'll intercept during their next refueling cycle. And once we're there? Asked Sergeant Joe Baker, the team's technical specialist. We capture the ship, subdue any crew, and bring back both for study. We need to understand their technology and tactical systems better than we do now. 5 hours later, Grant's team launched from a hidden base in the Mojave Desert. Their craft, dubbed the Shadow, looked nothing like conventional human aircraft. It was flat, angular, and completely black, absorbing rather than reflecting light. Approaching target coordinates, Grant said, her hands steady on the controls, activating phase shift technology. The Shadow shimmered and seemed to fade from view, its revolutionary cloaking system making it virtually invisible to all known detection methods. In orbit, a small Council scout ship hovered at the edge of Earth's atmosphere. It was roughly the size of a city bus, with a curved hull and glowing blue engine ports. 2 aliens moved around inside, visible through transparent sections of the hull. Target locked, Grant whispered, though there was no need for silence in space. Old habits died hard. Preparing for approach, the Shadow glided toward the alien vessel, matching its velocity perfectly. When they were just 50 meters away, Grant activated the ship's magnetic grapples. With a silent pulse of energy, the grapples locked onto the scout ship's hull. The aliens inside reacted immediately, rushing to control panels. Grant didn't give them time to respond. She pressed a button, sending an electromagnetic pulse directly into the scout ship's systems. The lights inside flickered and died. We're in, she said. Suit up. Minutes later, the team had boarded the alien vessel through an emergency airlock. The 2 alien crew members lay unconscious, affected by the stun gas Baker had pumped into their life support system. Let's work fast, Grant ordered. Baker, download their computer systems. Martinez, secure the aliens. Phillips and Chen, help me get samples of their technology. For 30 minutes, they worked methodically, gathering intelligence that would be crucial for Earth's defense. Baker whistled softly as he plugged his custom interface into the alien computer. I'm in their system, he said, and you're not going to believe this. They've been lying about their capabilities. What do you mean? Grant asked, looking up from the engine component she was examining. Their weapons aren't as advanced as they made them out to be. And according to their tactical maps, they're spread thin across this sector of the galaxy. This show of force around Earth represents a significant portion of their available military assets. Grant smiled for the first time in days. So they're bluffing. Not entirely, Baker cautioned. They're still more advanced than our conventional forces, but not by the margin they want us to believe. Back on Earth, President Miller sat across from an alien representative in the Oval Office. The alien, who had introduced himself as observer, Kelvax, watched her with large, unblinking eyes. Your population seems to be accepting our presence well, he noted, though our sensors detect unusual movement patterns in some regions. Miller kept her face neutral. People are frightened. Some are relocating to be with family. Understandable, Kelvax said. We've observed this behavior in other species. During integration, I must say your cooperation has been noted by the High Arbiter. We're a practical people, Miller replied, thinking of the secret military buildup happening right under the aliens' noses. No sense fighting the inevitable. Kelvax tilted his head. Indeed. Though historical records of your species suggest a strong resistance to occupation. Times change. We understand our position. In orbit, Grant's team finished their work and prepared to leave with their unconscious alien prisoners. Baker downloaded the last of the data and disconnected his device. Got something interesting here, he said. These aliens, they call themselves the Trillari, by the way, have been visiting Earth for centuries. They've been studying us. That explains the perfect English, Grant said. There's more, Baker continued, his voice growing serious. The Council isn't just concerned about our violence. They're after something specific. According to these files, Earth sits on a massive deposit, of something called quantum crystalline. It's rare and extremely valuable, essential for their faster-than-light travel. Grant's eyes widened. So this isn't about peace. It's about resources. And they've done this before, Baker added grimly. To at least 3 other worlds. The Council declares them threats, takes control, and strips them of resources. In 2 cases, the planets became uninhabitable within a decade. Pack it up, Grant ordered. We need to get this information back to command immediately. As their ship detached and slipped away from the now drifting scout vessel, Grant felt a new determination. This wasn't just about defending Earth anymore. It was about stopping an empire that consumed worlds. In the mountain facility, Admiral Carter received Grant's transmission with grim satisfaction. So that's their game, he said to Blackwood. Resource theft disguised as peacekeeping. Blackwood nodded. Typical colonizer tactics, just on a galactic scale. How much longer until our forces are ready? 5 more days at minimum, she replied. But the Council expects us to take a full month to surrender. Carter's eyes hardened. Then we'll give them the surprise of their galactic lives. Veteran diplomat Richard Doyle adjusted his tie as the shuttle carried him and his team toward the massive Council flagship hovering above New York City. The gleaming spacecraft dwarfed everything around it, stretching nearly 2 miles from end to end. Remember, he told his team of 6 diplomats, our job is to seem cooperative while buying time. Every hour we keep them talking is another hour for our military to prepare. Lisa Gordon, a young woman with sharp eyes who served as the team's translator, nodded. Though the Council alien spoke perfect English, her role was crucial for another reason. She had a photographic memory and advanced technical training. She would be their eyes and ears, looking for information the aliens might not intend to share. The shuttle docked with a soft thud. When the doors opened, they were greeted by 2 tall Trillari guards who led them through gleaming corridors to a large circular room. High Arbiter Zorthax waited with several other alien officials. Welcome aboard the Celestial Authority, Zorthax said. We appreciate your willingness to discuss the terms of Earth's transition to protectorate status. Doyle smiled pleasantly. Thank you for having us. President Miller sends her regards and hopes these talks will be productive. For the next several hours, they discussed mundane details of the transition, government restructuring, resource allocation, and population management. Doyle asked questions that required long, detailed answers, stretching out every topic as much as possible. During a break in the talks, Lisa Gordon excused herself to use the facilities. A Trillari attendant led her to a small room with strange fixtures. Once alone, she quickly removed a device the size of a coin from her earring and placed it against a data terminal near the door. The device lit up briefly, copying access codes. Within seconds, Gordon had connected to the Council's information network. She worked quickly, downloading files about Council military deployments, technological capabilities, and most importantly, their true intentions for Earth. When she heard footsteps approaching, she replaced the device in her earring and resumed her position. Back on Earth, evacuation efforts continued under the guise of routine population movement. Major cities were being quietly emptied, with people relocated to underground bunkers and remote facilities. Council observers noted the movements, but accepted the explanations provided by government officials. Preparations for the transition, family reunifications, and relocation of essential workers. At the Antarctic base, General Rivera watched as technicians prepared the ion cannon array, massive weapons designed to disable spacecraft from the ground. Similar preparations were happening at hidden facilities around the globe. Power levels at 85%, reported a technician. The shields are fully operational. Rivera nodded. How long until we're ready for full deployment? 12 hours, sir. On the Council flagship, Junior Arbiter Krenlax approached Zorthax with concern in his large eyes. Hi, Arbiter. Our observers report unusual energy signatures from several locations on the planet. They do not match known human technology patterns. Zorthax turned from the viewport where he had been watching Earth rotate slowly below. Specifics? Energy patterns consistent with advanced shielding technology and weapons systems. and some of our surveillance drones have gone missing over certain regions, the polar areas, deep ocean trenches, and several mountain ranges. Could it be equipment failure? Possibly, Krenlax admitted. But the pattern suggests deliberate interference. Zorthax's face remained impassive, but his inner eyelids flickered, a sign of concern in his species. Increase surveillance. If the humans are hiding something, I want to know what it is. And the diplomatic talks? Continue them, but press for faster compliance. I want military observers in all human government facilities within 2 days, not the 5 we originally planned. In the diplomatic chamber, Richard Doyle received the new demand with carefully hidden alarm. That accelerates our timeline considerably, he said, keeping his voice steady. Our governments need time to prepare their populations for such presence. The Council has been generous with time already, said Krenlax sharply. We begin to question Earth's commitment to peaceful transition. Lisa Gordon watched the exchange with interest. After accessing the Council's database during their break, she now understood the aliens' growing suspicion. The Council wasn't as confident as they appeared. They had encountered resistance before and learned to recognize the signs of a civilization, preparing to fight back. That evening, in the quarters assigned to the Earth diplomats, Gordon shared her findings with Doyle. They're planning to strip mine the entire planet, she said quietly, showing him images she had memorized from the Council database. This quantum crystalline thereafter. It's apparently formed by a combination of Earth's unique planetary core composition and the biological activity on the surface. Billions of years of life on Earth have created the perfect conditions for it to form. And they've done this before? Gordon nodded. 3 other planets. In each case, the extraction process killed all life on the surface. They know exactly what they're doing. Doyle's face hardened. This changes everything. We need to get this information back to Earth immediately. There's more, Gordon continued. They're growing suspicious. They've detected some of our preparations, though they don't yet know the full extent. They're planning to speed up their timeline. The first extraction ships are already on their way, due to arrive in 8 days, not 30 like they told us. 8 days, Doyle repeated. We need to warn the President. The next morning, during their scheduled communication with Earth, Doyle used a coded phrase that alerted President Miller to the accelerated timeline. In the Mountain Command Center, the President, Admiral Carter, and Nancy Blackwood digested this new information. 8 days, Carter said grimly. Can we be ready? Blackwood checked the latest reports from their hidden bases. The Defiant is fully operational. The shield network can be activated within hours. The ground-based ion cannons need another 36 hours for final calibration. What about our orbital assets? Asked Miller. The satellites are armed and ready. The lunar base has activated its mass drivers. We can be ready in 4 days if we push. Miller nodded. Then we push. I want all systems. Ready in 72 hours. Carter looked surprised. That's cutting it close. We don't have a choice, Miller replied. Based on Gordon's intelligence, I believe the Council will run out of patience even sooner than they're admitting. They know something's up. As if to confirm her words. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. A communications officer turned from his console with a pale face. Madam President, we're getting reports from our observers in orbit. The Council fleet is moving. Multiple ships are taking up attack positions. Miller's face hardened. It seems they've decided to move up their schedule even further. What are your orders? Asked Carter. The President looked around the room at the faces of Earth's defenders. Send word to all commands. Operation Silent Thunder is now active. As of this moment, we are at war. Across the planet, hidden facilities hummed with increasing energy as humanity prepared to unleash its full military might against the would-be conquerors who had gravely underestimated them. The Council ships moved into attack formation over the Pacific Ocean. Their sleek vessels, 20 in total, descended into the lower atmosphere. On the bridge of the lead destroyer, Junior Arbiter Krenlax watched with satisfaction. Begin the demonstration strike, he ordered. Target their naval bases in this region, minimal force, just enough to show them our power. The Council ships charged their weapons, green energy building at their forward sections. In moments, they would unleash devastation designed to force Earth's immediate surrender. But as they prepared to fire, something unexpected happened. The sky above them shimmered. Where there had been empty space seconds before, a network of orbital platforms suddenly appeared as their quantum shields deactivated. Each platform bristled with weapons pointed directly at the Council fleet. "Energy, signatures detected above us," shouted a Council sensor operator. Multiple weapons locking on. Before Krenlax could respond, the water beneath his fleet erupted. The USS Defiant burst from the ocean, water cascading off its massive hull. Unlike the sleek alien vessels, the Earth battleship was angular and imposing, built for war rather than elegance. It rose on powerful thrusters until it hovered directly in front of the Council fleet. In the command center of the Defiant, Captain Paul Harris sat calm and focused in the captain's chair. "All weapon systems online," reported his weapons officer. "Target locks confirmed on all 20 enemy vessels." Harris opened a communication channel. "Attention Council vessels. This is Captain Paul Harris of the Earth Defense Force. You are engaged in an act of war against a sovereign planet. Power down your weapons and withdraw, or we will respond with full force." On the Council flagship still in orbit, High Arbiter Zorthax received the transmission from his attack fleet with disbelief. "What is happening?" he demanded. "Where did that ship come from? Our scans detected no such vessel." The tactical display suddenly lit up with hundreds of new contacts as Earth's hidden defenses revealed themselves all at once. Orbital weapons platforms, ground-based ion cannons, and most shocking of all, a fleet of fighter craft unlike anything the Council had encountered before. Wing Commander Kate Mason led the fighter squadron that rose from a hidden base in the Rockies. Her voice was steady as she addressed her pilots. "Eagle Squadron, form up. Remember your training. These aliens may have better ships, but we're better pilots." 500 fighters streaked into the sky, their sleek forms glinting in the sunlight. Unlike conventional aircraft, these were space-capable interceptors designed specifically to combat the Council's technology. In Nebraska, at the Strategic Command Center buried deep underground, General Rivera coordinated the global defense network. "Activate all shield arrays," he ordered. "Power up the ion cannons. Deploy quantum displacement mines throughout the solar system." Across Earth, hidden facilities sprang to life. Shield generators created protective domes over major population centers. Ion cannons, disguised as ordinary structures or hidden underground, emerged and locked onto Council ships. In orbit, the quantum displacement mines, devices that had been secretly placed throughout the solar system, activated on Rivera's command. These sophisticated weapons didn't explode like conventional mines. Instead, they warped space around the Council's reinforcement fleet, causing ships to appear kilometers away from their intended positions, disrupting their carefully planned formation. Back in the Pacific, Krenlax stared in shock at the Earth vessel facing his fleet. "Impossible," he whispered. "They couldn't have developed this technology on their own." His tactical officer turned from his console with fear in his eyes. "Sir, we're detecting weapons locks from multiple directions. The humans have us surrounded." Krenlax hesitated only a moment before making his decision. "Open fire. Begin the attack." The Council ships fired their energy weapons at the Defiant. Green beams lanced across the sky, only to splash harmlessly against the Earth ship's shields. Captain Harris watched calmly as the alien weapons failed to penetrate their defenses. "Return fire," he ordered. "Target their weapons systems only. Let's show them what humans can do." The Defiant's main cannon charged with a building hum before releasing a blinding blue beam that sliced through the lead Council ship's forward section. The alien vessel shuddered, its weapons instantly disabled. In orbit, Zorthax watched in horror as his carefully planned assault fell apart. Human fighters swarmed around his larger vessels, their weapons proving unexpectedly effective. The orbital platforms fired precision strikes that disabled Council ships without destroying them. "How is this possible?" Zorthax demanded. "They were a primitive species." On his command screen, He watched as the shields on his flagship began to fail under the assault from Earth's ground-based ion cannons. Each blast weakened the advanced alien technology, systems failing one by one. Near Mars, a special operation was underway. Major Steve Bennett led a team of 12 Special Forces soldiers in a stealth boarding craft. Their target, a disabled, Council Science vessel drifting near the Red Planet. "Approach vector locked," said the pilot. 30 seconds to contact. Bennett checked his specialized combat suit one last time. "Remember the mission. We need their navigation data and at least one officer-level prisoner. Watch for traps and stay together." Their craft attached to the Council vessel with barely a sound. Using cutting tools designed based on Lieutenant Grant's earlier mission data, they breached the hull and entered the alien ship. The Council crew, unprepared for boarders, offered little resistance. Within minutes, Bennett's team had secured the vessel. "Bridge is ours," Bennett reported over his comm. "We have 3 prisoners, including what appears to be their commander." To his surprise, the commander was none other than Junior Arbiter Krenlax, who had retreated from the Pacific battle to this vessel after his flagship was disabled. "You can't win this," Krenlax said, his voice filled with disbelief. "The Council spans 17 species across hundreds of worlds." Bennett smiled, behind his helmet. "Yet here we are winning anyway. Back on Earth, the battle was turning decisively in humanity's favor. The Council fleet, expecting an easy victory against a primitive world, found themselves outmaneuvered and overpowered by weapons they never knew existed." In the Mountain Command Center, President Miller watched the tactical displays with grim satisfaction. "Send a message to High Arbiter Zorthax," she ordered. "Tell him if he wants to discuss terms of surrender, we're ready to listen." Admiral Carter raised an eyebrow. "Their surrender, I assume?" Miller nodded. "Of course. The Galactic Council came to subjugate a planet of savages. Instead, they found a united Earth ready to defend itself. It's time they learned that humans don't surrender their home without a fight." On the main screen, they watched as another Council ship raised the white flag, a human gesture they had quickly adopted when their own surrender protocols failed. One by one, the mighty Council fleet was being defeated by the very species they had dismissed as primitives not worthy of respect. The battle for Earth had begun, and humanity was winning. High Arbiter Zorthax stared at the view screen in disbelief. In just under 6 hours, the mighty Council fleet, the same fleet that had conquered dozens of worlds, had been reduced to a scattered, broken force. Most ships were disabled, their weapons and engines offline. Others had surrendered outright. Only his flagship and 3 escort vessels remained fully operational. "We must retreat and gather reinforcements," urged his second-in-command. Zorthax shook his head slowly. "There are no nearby reinforcements. We committed most of our available forces to this operation, believing Earth would be an easy conquest." He turned away from the screen showing Earth's unexpected armada. The humans had hidden their true capabilities well. Where had they acquired such technology? How had their intelligence networks missed this? "High Arbiter," said a communications officer, "the humans are hailing us." The view screen changed to show President Miller, with Admiral Carter and General Rivera standing beside her. "High Arbiter Zorthax," Miller said, her voice calm but firm. "As you can see, Earth is not the defenseless world you believed it to be. We are prepared to continue this battle until your fleet is completely destroyed, or you can agree to an immediate ceasefire and negotiations." Zorthax considered his options. Further resistance would only lead to more Council losses. With as much dignity as he could muster, he responded, "The Council will agree to a temporary ceasefire while we discuss terms." Miller nodded. "Excellent. We will meet in neutral space, the midpoint between Earth and your flagship's current position. You may bring 2 unarmed representatives. We will do the same." 3 hours later, aboard a small Earth shuttle positioned exactly halfway between the planet and the Council flagship, the opposing leaders met face to face. Zorthax and a Council legal advisor represented the Galactic Council. President Miller and Dr. Carol Winters, Earth's leading expert on the captured alien technology, represented humanity. Before we begin, said Miller, I believe we should address the true reason for your interest in Earth. We know about the quantum crystalline. Zorthax's inner eyelids flickered in surprise. You are better informed than we anticipated. We also know what happened to the last 3 worlds you protected, Miller continued. Earth will not share their fate. Dr. Winters opened a data tablet displaying complex schematics. We've analyzed your technology thoroughly, High Arbiter. While impressive, we've already developed superior alternatives in several key areas. She swiped through images showing Earth's quantum shield technology, antimatter power systems, and gravity manipulation drives. How is this possible? Asked Zorthax, unable to hide his astonishment. Your world showed no signs of such advancement. We've been preparing for this day for longer than you know, Miller explained. When your council first visited Earth in what we called the Roswell incident, you left behind technology. We studied it, improved upon it, and we kept our advancements hidden, knowing that someday we might face a threat exactly like yours. Zorthax was silent for a long moment. What are your terms? First, the Galactic Council will recognize Earth as a sovereign power, not a protectorate, Miller stated. Second, all council ships will withdraw from our solar system immediately. Third, you will provide reparations to Earth for your unprovoked attack in the form of technological exchanges. And in return, Zorthax asked, we won't pursue your retreating fleet and will return your captured personnel, Miller said. Additionally, we're willing to establish diplomatic relations with the Council and consider carefully regulated trade, including limited access to our quantum crystalline deposits that doesn't damage our ecosystem. While the negotiations continued, news of Earth's stunning victory spread throughout the Council's territories. Many species who had been subjugated or threatened by the Council watched with great interest. If humans could stand against the mighty Council, perhaps others could too. On a desert world called Neri, reptilian beings gathered around communication devices, hearing for the first time that the Council fleet had been defeated. On the ocean moons of Castor, amphibious creatures celebrated openly. In the crystal cities of Velnar, a resistance movement that had been crushed years ago began to stir once more. Back on Earth, in the underground command center, Admiral Carter reviewed the after-action reports. Earth's casualties had been minimal, just 8 pilots lost and 2 small vessels destroyed. The Council, on the other hand, had lost nearly 30 ships and over 2,000 crew members were now prisoners of war. Hard to believe we pulled it off, Rivera said, joining him at the tactical display. Carter nodded. They underestimated us, a mistake as old as warfare itself. Nancy Blackwood entered the room, her face showing the fatigue of someone who hadn't slept in days. The analysis of their captured vessels is complete. Dr. Winters was right. Their technology is advanced, but not as superior as they made it seem. In some areas, our solutions are actually more elegant. What happens now? Rivera asked. Now, said Carter, we prepare for what comes next. The Council may have agreed to peace today, but they span 17 species and hundreds of worlds. Some will accept this new reality, others won't. 1 week later, President Miller addressed the United Nations General Assembly. The chamber was packed with billions more watching the broadcast worldwide. People of Earth, she began. 1 week ago, we faced the greatest threat in human history. A powerful alien coalition sought to subjugate our world and strip it of its resources. They expected us to surrender without a fight. They were wrong. The chamber erupted in applause. Today, I am pleased to announce that the Galactic Council has formally recognized Earth as a sovereign power. Their fleet has withdrawn from our solar system. We have established diplomatic relations and begun the process of joining the galactic community, not as subjects, but as equals. She paused, looking around the room. This victory belongs to all of humanity. For the first time in our long and often divided history, we stood together as one planet, one people. The secret preparations that protected us were the work of many nations over many decades. And now, as we look to the stars, we do so not in fear but in strength. In orbit above Earth, a remarkable sight unfolded. The USS Defiant slowly approached a newly constructed space station. On the observation deck, Admiral Carter stood beside High Arbiter Zorthax, who had returned as the Council's first official ambassador to Earth. "Your species continues to surprise me," Zorthax admitted. "In just 1 week, you've built this station and begun integrating our technologies." Carter smiled slightly. "Humans adapt quickly. It's how we've survived on a planet that's tried to kill us many times over." "The Council was wrong about your people," Zorthax said. "We saw your capacity for violence and assumed it made you dangerous and unpredictable. We failed to see that it also made you strong and resourceful." "A common mistake," Carter replied, seeing only part of what makes someone who they are. As they watched Earth rotating below, brilliant blue against the blackness of space, Zorthax spoke thoughtfully. "Many worlds in the Council are now calling for reforms, inspired by your resistance. Some are even suggesting that I should lead these changes. Will you?" The alien turned his large eyes to Carter. "Perhaps. The Council has ruled through fear for too long. Your world has shown there is another way." Earth had not only defended itself, but had changed the course of galactic history. Humanity had arrived on the cosmic stage not as servants or subjects, but as a power to be reckoned with. And the stars, once threatening, now beckoned with promise.